Over the next few minutes, we are going to completely crack the code of the English sentence. Seriously, we're going to build a blueprint that lets you put together any idea you can think of, from the simplest command to a really complex thought, and do it with confidence. So, let's get building. So let's start off with a little puzzle. What do you think is the shortest, simplest, but still 100% complete sentence you can make in English? I'll bet the answer isn't what you think it is.
That's it. One word. Work. Or run. Or listen. It's just a verb, but when you use it as a command, that's called an imperative. It's a whole, complete thought. It's an instruction. And believe it or not, this is the foundation for everything else we're about to build.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with that one-word wonder. Then we'll find the missing piece that makes most sentences actually work. After that, we'll start adding some descriptive detail, learn how to connect our ideas together, and then finally, we'll put it all together in your very own sentence-building toolkit. All right, part 1, the foundation. That simple one-word sentence actually shows us the single most important rule in all of English. Every single sentence, no matter how long or complicated, has to have a verb. It is the engine that makes the whole thing go. But, we don't usually just shout commands at each other. Most of the time, that verb needs a partner. It needs a subject, the person or the thing that's doing the action. And that gives us our first real formula, subject plus verb. And that simple formula gives us sentences like, he runs or she left. Now, these are 100% grammatically correct. They're complete thoughts. But let's be real, they're pretty boring, right? You can't say a whole lot with just these. Okay, now we get to the really good stuff. This is the missing piece, the key ingredient that turns a super basic statement into a full, complete thought. So what's going on here? If I say, she likes or he wants, well, we've got a subject and we've got a verb. So they should be complete sentences, right? But they're not. They just feel unfinished. They leave you hanging. So why is that? They're definitely missing something essential. And to figure out what it is, we just have to ask ourselves the single most powerful question in sentence building, and that is, what comes next? The answer to this question unlocks pretty much everything. And the answer is something called a complement. Now, don't let the grammar term scare you. It's just the piece of information that completes the meaning of the verb. It answers the question likes what or wants what. And it can actually be a whole bunch of different things. And this just shows you how flexible your options are. Take a verb like likes. You could use a simple noun. She likes strawberries. Easy. Or you could use an ing verb, which is called a gerund. She likes swimming. Or you could even use a whole phrase, an infinitive. She likes to listen to music. See, the verb tells you it needs a complement, but you get to choose what kind. So here's the main takeaway. Building sentences isn't really about memorizing a bunch of boring rules. It's about understanding your options. For any word you use, especially a verb, all you need to know is what kind of words or phrases are allowed to come after it. Okay, so now we can build a solid, complete sentence. But let's make it better. It's time to add some detail, some color, and make our sentences a whole lot more descriptive and interesting. All right, let's start with this simple but complete base sentence. He wants to buy a car. It's perfect. We've got our subject, he, our verb, wants, and the complement, to buy a car. It's a solid foundation we can build on. Now for the fun part, the first layer of detail. Adjectives. These are just words that describe nouns, and we just slot them in right before the noun they're talking about. So a car becomes a bright red car. Instantly, it's more vivid, right? Next up, we add adverbs, and these things are amazing because they can add all sorts of context. How, why, when, where. Apparently gives the whole sentence a bit of tone. For his new girlfriend tells us the reason why. Adverbs are what give our sentences real depth and nuance. So we've built one solid, really detailed sentence. Awesome. But what if you have more than one idea you want to express? Well, the final step in our blueprint is learning how to connect them into a single, flowing thought. To do this, we need to quickly understand something called clauses. Just think of them as sentence parts. An independent clause, that's basically a complete sentence all by itself. But a dependent clause, well, it's a fragment. It just can't stand on its own. It has to be attached to an independent clause to make any sense. Creating a longer, more complex sentence is kind of like following a recipe. It's super simple. You just take one complete idea, that's an independent clause, then you add a simple connecting word like and, but, or so. And then you just add a second complete idea. That's it. She likes strawberries, but she hardly ever eats them. All right, let's put it all together. This is your complete sentence building toolkit. We're going to summarize the entire journey we just took, from that single word all the way to a complex, detailed idea. So check this out. Let's trace the whole process. We started with just the engine, the verb, work. Then we added a subject and a complement. She works in a zoo. We gave it some color with adjectives and adverbs. Apparently, she works in a private zoo. And then we connected another whole thought to make it complex. So she must know a lot about animals. See how we did that? When you really break it all down, this entire powerful system for building any English sentence you can imagine, it all comes down to just one single guiding question. And that's it. This is the question, the one you should be asking yourself anytime you're writing or speaking. If your sentence feels a little off, or if you're just not sure what to say, just ask yourself, what needs to come next? Answering that one simple question is the absolute key to clear, correct, and compelling English. Now, what are you going to build with it?